Welcome into Candlestick Chronicles, a 49ers podcast on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Kyle Madsen. I write about the 49ers over at NinersWire.com, part of the USA Today Sports Media Group. That is former 49ers beat writer Chris Biederman, and we are going to talk about the 49ers getting some players back. Some good injury news, kind of, I guess. We'll get to it, but first, folks, shout out to Lamb Chops. sglambchops.com is the website. Merch is here. We have laid eyes on the merch, and it's fire. I can't wait for you all to see it. sglambchops.com. We're going to have merch up there. But in the meantime, check out their 2025 fall line. That is all gas as well, because that's what Lamb Chops does. It's high quality. It looks dope. And it's extremely comfortable. sglambchops.com. Use promo code Candlestick20 to receive 20% off your order today. Lamb Chops, join the herd.
This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Kyle, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick them all in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or someone whose picks you like Kyle or myself, or maybe you like Kyler Murray. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. So make sure you download the Prize Picks app today. Use code Candlestick to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Candlestick to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Damn right it is. Let's talk about the Niners injury situation. Here we go. I guess there was good news on the injury front for the 49ers on Wednesday. I guess. Kind of, it's a mixed bag. Brock Purdy returned to practice.
It's hard to say because it feels like with the Niners, maybe more than other teams, that even if somebody returns to practice on Wednesday, you don't really have a full idea of how the week's going to go. Right. Like it could be, even before the Jaguars game, it's like, oh, Brock Purdy's practicing. He feels fine, has no injury designation going into that game.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's okay. And then he aggravates a toe injury, has to miss the next 2 weeks. So, yeah, I think it's positive. You have Brock Purdy back at practice. You have George Kittle back at practice. Sounds like George Kittle is trending towards playing against Atlanta, which would be big, whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. I think everything the 49ers want to do offensively kind of hinges on Kittle. Like, his versatility is one of their biggest assets on top of Christian McCaffrey's versatility, right? Like, versatility is kind of the name of the game for Kyle Shanahan's offense. And that's why CMC and Kittle are so valuable to it. But I have bigger picture thoughts than just this week, but I'm curious what you think about these guys coming back.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Because if you could pick one player who's out, who's set to return this year, you can't pick Fred Warner, or anybody who's done for the season, Nick Bosa, etc. Out of Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and let's say Ricky Pearsall, is Kittle the most important guy who could be back for the 49ers this week? I kind of think it is, and I'm not sure it's close.
I think it's close because I still think there's a pretty tangible difference between Brock Purdy and Mac Jones, although there might be less of a difference.
The gap is close.
Well, right. I think it's more like a questionable health. Brock Purdy and Mac Jones are not all that far apart. I think if you can ensure 100% healthy Brock Purdy, I think Purdy's a substantially better player.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think you make a good point, because given that Brock Purdy isn't fully healthy and the gap between Mac Jones and Brock is not that wide, the gap between having George Kittle and not having George Kittle is immense. And Jake Tonjes has been really nice.
Sure.
But you're feeling it in the running game. Like, I feel like there's a decent chance that once you get George Kittle back, then the running game starts to look something like we're used to. And it just hasn't. And I think there are a ton of factors. There are a ton of factors to that, but I think George Kittle being out is one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, I wanna make the case for Brock Purdy real quick because you mentioned how, an injured Brock Purdy and a although I'm not even gonna say healthy Mac Jones because Mac Jones is banged up in his own right. But the thing about Brock Purdy that I may be underrating here a little bit when I say Kittle and it's not close is that Brock Purdy masks a lot of the 49ers issues on the offensive line by being able to scramble and by being able to make plays with his legs, both throwing on the run, extending plays, and scrambling. And man, that game, Mac Jones taking 6 sacks against Tampa Bay, it felt like 5 of them were just because he doesn't, especially with his knee injury and an oblique, just doesn't have the mobility to be particularly effective behind an offensive line that's been extremely aggressively mediocre this year. And you see Dominic Pooney out with a knee injury, which it feels like he's had that knee injury for a while, and it's
Since
just finally
August.
catching up with him. Yeah, he was particularly poor against Tampa Bay, but that's the thing that I keep coming back to with Purdy and Mac Jones is I feel like Purdy masks so many of those pass protection issues in ways that Mac Jones, I don't think healthy Mac Jones can, and certainly not a banged up Mac Jones.
Yeah, I mean it's going back kind of a long time, but you remember what happened in the playoffs a couple years ago against the Packers and Lions where Brock Purdy basically won those games for the 49ers with his ability to make plays outside the structure of the offense with his legs, like
Yep.
scrambling and making plays outside the pocket and just being a playmaker. And yes, Mac Jones can run your offense and Mac Jones can make the right reads and Mac Jones can make the right throws, but he doesn't have any of that element, particularly with how banged up he's been. So there's a sizable difference there, and obviously that gap has shrunk with Brock Purdy dealing with turf toe, which is proving to be a really difficult injury to deal with. I do want to zoom out though because I was thinking about this before we hopped on, and I'm curious what you think of this idea. I think we're gonna look at the season. There's gonna be like the pre-Fred Warner portion of the season and the post-Fred Warner portion of the season. And I'm looking at this post-Fred Warner portion of the season like, all right, you have to score 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Like you have to get the running game going. You have to just be one of the better offenses in the NFL, full stop. If you are going to get to the playoffs, whether that's winning the NFC West, which looks exceedingly difficult now given the injuries that you're dealing with, or even just getting to 9-10 wins to be in the mix for a wild card spot. So I think the 49ers probably need to punt on the idea, or I'm not even sure if they're thinking about it like this, but for the 49ers to overcome Fred Warner's injury, it's not going to be, what linebacker can they trade for, or can Tatum Bethune turn into like a really good player, like on the spot. I don't think they're replacing Fred Warner that way in terms of wins and losses. I think they're replacing Fred Warner in terms of wins and losses with the offense taking a step so you don't have to rely on the defense so heavily. And part of that is getting Brock Purdy back and getting George Kittle back. So I'm looking at it like a dramatic shift where it felt like the defense was sort of carrying the water in the pre Fred Warner injury era, and now you have your post Fred Warner injury era where the offense is going to have to start carrying the water.
Yeah, and I think that shift started when Nick Bosa got hurt. They with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, you could squint and see the outline of a very, very high level defense, like a top 5 defense, where the offense, okay, the run game's not working, offense banged up. George Kittle's out. All right, hey, they can still manufacture enough points, 20, 25 points, whatever, 20, 22 points, and win some games. Then Nick Bosa gets hurt, and you're going, okay, they can still have a top 15 defense, but the offense is going to have to be a little better. And now I'm in lockstep with you on this. Now I think the 49ers formula for winning, and again, I've adjusted my expectations pretty dramatically. I thought after 5 weeks, especially after the Rams win, I thought they were a team that could still potentially win the Super Bowl. Like I thought they would need some things to break their way, but I didn't. It wasn't like the Panthers. Like I can't see the Panthers winning the Super Bowl, but all more power to them. They're 3-3, trending the right way, but I don't see the Panthers. I could squint and see it with the 49ers. Now I don't, but I think they can still make the playoffs, and if they do, I think it's the formula is what you're saying. It's an offense that's scoring 27 points a game, and it's a defense that maybe they get some better turnover luck than they've had so far, and they get a couple of big third down stops in a game, and they win it 27-23. I think that's going to kind of be the formula going forward. And again, that's to me just to make the playoffs, because they're super easy schedule all of a sudden. Like Indianapolis is really good, and the Giants are trending the right way, and you got the Falcons coming in on Sunday, and the Falcons suddenly look awesome. So the super easy schedule all of a sudden looks a little more difficult, and I think if they're going to win down the stretch, I think you're right. I think it's going to be on the strength of the offense.
Falcons defense might be one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, I think they're first in DVOA.
Yeah, they're first in total yards they've allowed 697 yards. Passing yards, excuse me.
Yeah, that's a good group.
But through 5 games, that's really not that many yards.
Very, very good.
So yeah, and that's sort of the danger of looking at strength of schedule, and we've talked about that. To me, it's always been about the quarterbacks you're going against, but I mean, the Falcons just put it on the Bills, and they'll be coming cross country on a short week, and maybe there's sort of an emotional hangover effect. We saw it from the Jaguars this last week, right? Like they beat the Chiefs at home on Monday night in a really big game, one of the biggest wins of their current era, and then they come home and get beat by the Seahawks. Maybe there's an element of that for Atlanta crossing the country this week for Sunday night against the Niners. But I just, you're probably not going to have Ricky Pearsall, or at least Ricky Pearsall did not return to practice. And it just doesn't seem like Pearsall's trending towards playing this week. At least maybe he returns to practice Thursday and Friday. We'll see. I'm not overly optimistic. You still have Juwan Jennings playing with 17 broken ribs and 4 sprained ankles, or 4 ankle sprains, I should say.
two
a high and a low ankle. Are they the same? Are they the same leg, or are they opposite legs?
In my brain, it's the same leg, but I don't know biologically if that works. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if it's like a double jeopardy type of thing.
If you can have a high and low ankle sprain on the same leg, it would just be like a leg sprain.
It's just the ligaments, right?
I don't know. I'm far from a doctor, but yeah, like I think that's kind of the key, is just getting the offense to uptick pretty substantially. The issue with that, pretty clearly, which is why you need to get Brandon Ayuk back and why you need to get Ricky Pearsall back, is that you just can't rely on Christian McCaffrey as heavily as the 49ers have.
Completely.
So
it's to the point, once they get healthy and get guys back, I would almost advocate, hey, give Christian McCaffrey another bye week. Just sit him for a week, like veteran rest day for the week. Not injury-related, resting player on Sunday.
Well, when do you do that, though?
Once people are back.
Okay.
I'm talking week 12, week 15, something like that.
Again, Carolina, week 12.
Sure.
Maybe at Cleveland before the bye.
You might not win the game. It's more if you're in playoff contention and Christian McCaffrey's at 380 touches with 4 games to go. Maybe feels like, I don't know, you just give him a week off. I'm being facetious.
No, I know. It's not a crazy idea though, because Christian McCaffrey, how many touches does Christian McCaffrey have? He has 108 rushing attempts through 6 games. He has 40. Christian McCaffrey has 46 receptions.
That's outrageous. Hey, you know how he's run the ball a million times? Do you know how many yards he's on pace for on the ground?
I'd have to do some math. No, why don't you say it? So I'd say
952. Yeah, he's running the ball so much.
Not very efficient.
No, not even a little bit efficient. 3 yards carry is not going to get it done, coach.
The other thing, as good as Kendrick Bourne has been the last couple weeks, can the 49ers get that to continue with Brock Purdy and not Mac Jones?
Great question.
Because there was very clearly a disconnect in the Jaguars game. It led to at least one of the turnovers, right? or at least there were a bunch of drops.
Yeah, there were drops. I don't know if that's a disconnect or just Kendrick Bourne not being locked in.
Sure. So can you get the Brock Purdy Kendrick Bourne connection to be as productive as the Mac Jones Kendrick Bourne connection if Brock Purdy's back? That'll be massive. Can you get DeMarcus Robinson to look like somebody who looked like potentially like a number 2 receiver during the preseason? Sky Moore is not healthy. Does that mean the rookie receiver? Yeah, Jordan Watkins. Does that mean he's returning punts? And what does that look like if he's making his NFL debut on Sunday Night Football? That's, I don't know, kind of an interesting proposition. And we don't know that Sky Moore is going to be out, or we don't know that Watkins is even going to be able to play, but that's certainly something to keep in mind as the week goes on. Dominic Pooney's injury, like he has not been nearly the player he was as a rookie, and I think it's directly tied to his health, and I think he's really gutting through a difficult spot, and I think he understands that the 49ers don't have a bunch of depth behind him at right guard. So he's playing. What's that look like against a Falcons pass rush, which suddenly looks really good? There's a lot riding on this 49ers offense, but there are so many question marks about this 49ers offense right now that it, like from an injury perspective, that it feels really difficult to bank on it.
Yeah, I agree.
But we had the same questions going into the Rams game, and you know, they had one of the more miraculous wins of the Kyle Shanahan era. So I don't know. Like I think I honestly have no feel for this game against Atlanta. Atlanta's a lot better than I thought they would be. And the Niners are certainly a little bit worse than I was expecting them to be, in large part because of injuries. So I just don't really have any feel for this game beyond I think it's going to be a tough one for the 49ers to win. And if they come out 5-2, and then you're another week or what with Brock Purdy playing, or another week towards Brock Purdy being healthier,
man,
that would be in a wild spot to be in from a positive perspective, given how the season's gone so far.
If they pull out a win this week, I might have to shift expectations again. If they figure it out, like if Tatum Bethune goes and balls out, and D Winters is awesome, and Michael Williams and Bryce Huff put together a good game, and Michael Penix turns it over a couple times, and the Niners just look really good. I like at that point, it's hard to write them off in the way that I kind of have since the Fred Warner injury.
I think it'll be a good crowd.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I think the atmosphere will be good. I think a lot of people will.
It feels like it
sometimes
a game in months.
Yeah. Sometimes those like afternoon games, you get the sun, it's like it's a frustrating game, and you turn the ball over a couple times early in the first half, and like visiting teams can kind of take the crowd out of it. I feel like prime time, the emotional factor of Fred Warner, they'll probably have some sort of like Fred Warner tribute video before the game, and and so I don't know, good crowd. But anyway, we will talk more. Short pod today, some scheduling conflicts. We got Kings preseason. Sacramento Kings are playing basketball. I got to go run to that game.
Hello.
So we had to get a short podcast in. But we'll talk to you guys later in the week. We'll have another podcast tomorrow, and keep it locked. Subscribe, rate, and review. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Shout out to Cooperage Brewing, and we'll talk to you guys soon.